Are you looking for a delicious way to start your day? Something with a little kick to wake you up? How about trying my Peppermint Mocha French toast bake? And I even make a complimentary syrup to go along with it. Add a little whipped cream, you have a Peppermint Mocha latte. So, if you're looking forward to this, or some variation of it, stay tuned, because it's coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is one of mine. I came up with this last year because my friend Bree from Balancing Life with Bree loves peppermint mocha. And she didn't ask for this one like she did for the peppermint cupcakes. But I decided, let me see what I can come up with that she might enjoy that is peppermint mocha. So this is what I came up with, my Peppermint Mocha French toast bake. Now this will serve 2 people. I don't know why I'm doing double. 2 people. And it comes together fairly quickly. The only thing is you have to let it sit so that that custard can soak into the bread, and you can do it about an hour at least. I'm going to do it overnight. It is like 7:10 in the evening, so I'm going to do this now, get it all set up, so that way I can just throw it in the oven in the morning, and then I can make the syrup that goes along with it while it's in the oven baking. So for the ingredients, I have here 6 slices of a very low bite, low point bread. This one is Nature's Own Life whole grain, sugar-free. Each slice of this is just 1 bite or 1 old Blue Point. I've also used, and when I came up with this recipe, what I used was the Sara Lee Delightful 45 bread. You can use whatever bread you want. Just know the only bites or points that are going to be in this come from the bread, so choose wisely. So I have here 6 slices that I've cubed up into like 1 inch. I cut them in half, in quarters, and then did the same thing in the other direction, and that gave me this size. Now you can let these sit out overnight so that they can dry. I put mine out probably around 11 o'clock this morning, 12 o'clock, so they've been out for about 8 hours. So they're definitely dry and ready to soak up that custard. You don't want your bread right out of the bag. You want it dried, because if it gets into the custard, it's just going to kind of fall apart. This way it's going to hold on to its structure. Now if you forgot to take it out, you decided at the last minute this was what you wanted to bake, you can just cube up your bread just like I did here and put it on a sheet pan, probably on a cooling rack to let that air get all around it, but you don't have to. That would just make it work out better, I think. But you just throw it in a 350-degree oven for about 8 to 10 minutes until it gets dry feeling. And you can tell what it feels like. And once you take it out of the oven and it starts to cool down, it'll solidify a little bit more. So anyways, that's our bread. We also have 5 eggs here, half a cup of almond milk. I have 1 tablespoon of instant espresso. You can use instant coffee or instant espresso, either one. 1 tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2 tablespoons of sugar replacement, 1-to-1 sugar replacement. I'm using Swerve, as most of you probably know. And if you're using something that is stronger, you'll have to adjust to make it equal 2 tablespoons of sugar. I have 3/4 of a teaspoon of peppermint extract, and I have a pinch of salt. I know there are some out there who aren't fans of peppermint. That's fine. You do not have to make a peppermint mocha. You could use caramel extract and make a caramel mocha. You could use a vanilla extract and make a vanilla mocha. Just change out the extract to whatever you prefer. It does not have to be peppermint. Likewise, for those who aren't as much of a fan of the coffee aspect of this, you could change out that coffee and just do another tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder. So it'll be more chocolatey and you won't have the mocha aspect, but you will have more of a chocolate flavor, and whatever extract you pair it with, chocolate and orange extract would probably be great, especially for the holidays. But you do what you want to do. So now that we have all these ingredients, I have the syrup ingredients ready, but we're not making that till tomorrow, so I'm not going to go over those just yet. We're going to do this part first and then worry about that in the morning, as I said. Oh, and I have some cooking spray and a 9-inch loaf pan. This is what we're going to bake it in. So I'm just going to spray my loaf pan and set that aside. Now we don't need this anymore. And let me just manipulate a few things here so that I can get my big bowl in. And we are going to add in, first you want to do the eggs, because you want to break them up and get them into kind of a homogeneous blend. And I always try to break up the yolks first. Makes it a little easier for it to start to come together. And you don't have to get too crazy with how homogeneous these eggs are. You just basically want, instead of 5 different eggs floating around in there, you kind of want to make one big liquid mass. And that looks pretty good. Then just going to toss in the rest of the ingredients. So the almond milk, the sweetener, the cocoa powder, the espresso powder, the peppermint extract, and the salt. And just whisk this all together. Now the unsweetened cocoa is going to be kind of like cinnamon gets very dry and powdery and kind of reluctant to get wet. The cocoa powder is going to be like that at first too, and it might start to settle into little clumps on the top, as you can see here. Don't worry about that, it's all going to work out. Just blend it, and you don't have to worry about making it overly smooth, because as I said, as it bakes, it's not going to become a problem. Let me get rid of these things and we will continue. Okay, now we are going to take the bread and just dump it right into our egg mixture here, our custard. And this is definitely a festive way to start your holiday morning. Like I showed the eggnog pancakes. For those who aren't into pancakes or maybe want something a little easier or something you can throw in the fridge and then just have ready in the morning to put in the oven, this is the perfect way to go. So we have our bread in here. We're just going to toss that in to coat all of the bread. Make sure all of this bread gets some of that liquid on there, because you want that liquid to start to absorb into it. And it's not all going to do it now. That's part of the reason why you let it sit in the fridge for about an hour, at least, is so that it has time to suck up all of that egg custard. So you just want to toss it until everything is kind of colored by the cocoa and coffee. So, going to bring in our 9-inch loaf pan and just dump all of this in here carefully. As long as I don't have a little spasm, we'll be fine. And then you just want to spread this out evenly and pack it in a little bit. That way the bread is going to be down in that liquid and really absorb it. Okay, now we're just going to cover it with some plastic wrap. And now it's ready for the fridge. As I said, you can refrigerate this as short of a time as an hour. Like if you wanted to do this in the morning, you could just get this part set, throw it in for an hour. But I like the convenience of just setting it in there overnight, letting it soak up all those juices, and having it ready to throw in the oven. Especially on a holiday morning, you want to be able to do things as easily as you can. So let me throw this in the fridge, and I will see you in the morning. Okay, so it is the next morning, and yes, I am wearing the same shirt, partly for continuity, partly because it's festive looking, but mostly because this shirt, I'd mentioned in one of my videos about my journey, how I'd gone to a hypnotist early on to try to lose weight that way. And one of his suggestions was to buy a shirt or a piece of clothing that you would want to wear once you get to the size that you want to be. So I bought this a few years ago when I was about at my highest, 307. And this is a large. So as you could have told from the intro, it fits pretty well. So that's another reason that I wanted to wear it and enjoy the fact that I can wear it. And I can wear it while eating things like this. So I took the soaked bread out of the refrigerator as I preheated the oven, so that way it could come a little bit more to room temperature before I put it in. Now the oven is preheated to 375 degrees. So I am going to take the plastic wrap off. You don't want to have plastic wrap in the oven. And you can see that all of the egg has soaked into the bread. That's exactly what you want. So I'm going to throw this in the oven, and then we're going to get started on our syrup. And the French toast bake is going to be in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until the center feels set and it's slightly browned on the top. Okay, so for the sauce, I have here a half cup of brewed coffee. It doesn't have to be strong brewed or anything like that, just regular brewed. There are going to be some alternatives that you can do. First of all, you could, if you didn't prefer coffee, you could just do a half cup of hot cocoa. You could do a half cup of eggnog, depending on what flavors you put into your French toast bake. But I am sticking with the Peppermint Mocha theme. I have a half cup of brewed coffee, but we're going to start off with only a quarter cup, and then there are going to be some alternatives there as well. But I will get into that once we get there. 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa, a half a cup of sugar replacement. I'm using Swerve 1-to-1 replacement. If you're using something like stevia or things like that, you'll have to adjust for whatever would make a half a cup of sugar equivalent. I have 2 tablespoons of almond milk. Now this is an optional thing, which I will get into once we get into the other half of the coffee mixture here. I have a pinch of salt, and I have a 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract. Again, if you're not a fan of peppermint, if you've changed up the extract in the French toast bake, then just change up the extract to match. If you did a caramel extract, use a caramel here. So you can play around with it. It doesn't have to be peppermint mocha. That's just what I made, but you can adjust and change it up to what you like. So I'm going to set aside the 2 tablespoons of almond milk because we don't need that just yet. We are going to put a 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons, into, and I hope that the morning sunlight from that window isn't going to be too problematic. I usually don't record this early. So 4 tablespoons, which is a 1/4 cup. just to make sure I'm getting it even. I'm going to leave that spoon in there. And then we're going to add in the sweetener and the cocoa powder. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the heat to medium. And you just want to whisk this together, that cocoa powder. You can see maybe some of that puffing out because it's very powdery and, like I said before, resistant to getting wet. It's kind of like a cat that way, I guess. Not a fan of getting wet. But if you're persistent, it will come together. Okay, so what we want to do now is bring this to a boil, and we're going to let it boil for about 5 minutes because we want that sweetener to dissolve into it. We want some of that coffee to reduce down and make this a little thicker. Now the extract is going to go in at the end, so is the salt. And here's where you can play around with things a little bit. If you like your coffee strong, like you drink it black maybe, you can use this whole 1/4 cup at the end. If you don't prefer it that strong, you can replace this 1/4 cup with a 1/4 cup of almond milk if you like it really light. If you like it somewhere in between, which is what Paul and I like, you can do half almond milk and the other half the coffee. That way it'll give it a little milky flavor and not too strong. It'll dull some of that strong coffee. But it's your call. You can do it however you like. The first time I made it with just coffee, and for me it was a little too strong. So that's why I decided I'm going to take out only 2 tablespoons of the coffee and replace the other 2 tablespoons with the milk in order to get more of a coffee flavor the way we like it. But if you're one of those who has like a half and half coffee, replace the whole 1/4 cup with almond milk or soy milk or oat milk or whatever kind of milk you use. So I'm going to get this up to a boil, let it boil for 5 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so our syrup has been boiling for about 5 minutes. I've been whisking it on occasion just to keep the bottom from burning, and it's reduced a little bit. So we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to add in, I put my 2 tablespoons of coffee in with my 2 tablespoons of almond milk. I'm going to add in the salt and the peppermint extract. Now, I've mentioned previously that when you're adding extracts, you want to add them at the end because the alcohols will evaporate and you'll lose the flavor of whatever you are trying to add in. And as it is, this is a very thin syrup, as you can see. If you'd like it a little thicker, you could add a little cornstarch slurry, like a teaspoon of cornstarch with about a teaspoon or 2 of water. Actually, I think I may do that, just because it's a little thinner. I mean, it will set up more as it cools, but you also don't want it to get too cool. Okay, so I have a teaspoon of cornstarch, which is going to be 0 bites, 0 of the old blue points. And I'm going to turn on the heat again. I'm actually going to alter the recipe as it's written to add in the cornstarch just to give it a little more thickness than it has. The first time I made it, it got fairly thick. I'm going to start whisking that in just to give it a little more richness. And then as the heat comes up, that cornstarch will start to plump and help to thicken this syrup. And as I said, I will change the recipe on the blog, which is where you can find this recipe and all of the recipes, and that's linked down below in the description box. So let me clear up some of this stuff while I'm waiting for that to heat up, and the French toast should be coming out of the oven. Be right back. Okay, there is our French toast bake, our Peppermint Mocha French toast bake. It's a little dark on the top, set in the center. You can tell by touching it, obviously not with the mitts on, but it smells great. Definite peppermint mocha. Now this makes 2 servings as far as I'm concerned, but you can alter the servings. You can make this 3, 4, whatever you like. But as I did it on the blog and for this video, this is 2 servings. And the syrup has thickened up a bit from the addition of just a teaspoon of the cornstarch with a little bit of water. Now another thing that I'm going to check, see, that's much thicker, much better. So yeah, I'm going to alter the recipe on the blog so that it reflects this addition. I'm also going to double check because I had it listed as a serving for 8 because we had quite a bit left over. I'm going to measure it out and see what we get. Let me get my spatula so I can make sure I can get all of that out of there. And see how much we get here. And this can be used like the eggnog syrup I did last week. This can be used on ice cream, cake, waffles, whatever you like. Okay, so we got about 1/2 cup, a little over 1/2 cup, which was what I was expecting. So if I did serving for 8, this would be 1 tablespoon. That's not enough. So I'm also going to up the serving size. So this is going to be a serving for 4. You may get more than that. If you're doing it on ice cream, you might just want a tablespoon. But I'm going to list it as a serving for 4, and it's still going to be 0 bites for that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to take this out and put it on a cutting board. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it because I often get told I should not be cutting things inside my cookware because I make lines in it. So I'm taking it out, and that way it'll be easier for you to see as well. And so this is 1 serving the way I do it. You don't have to do it as 1 serving. You could break this up if you're doing more than just this. If you're doing sausages, bacon, whatever, you could break this up into smaller servings. But as I said, I was doing this as serving 2 people because this is all we're having. Let's try this again. Okay, so for the syrup, as I said, I'm going to do this as a serving of 4, which is a little over 2 tablespoons because I have a little over 1/2 cup here. 0 bites for a quarter of this for just over 2 tablespoons. If you're following calories, I did add in the cornstarch, so it went to 10 calories from 8, not a big jump. For fat, 0.4 grams. For carbs, 26.2 grams. And for protein, 0.6 grams. So, not bad for a syrup. Now, you can store it, use this right away, as I'm going to, or you can store it in the fridge in an airtight container for up to a week, probably even longer. But and then if you want to warm it up again, what I do, I'll put it in the microwave, slightly covered, microwave for 30 seconds, stir, microwave for 30 seconds, stir, and that should be good to warm it up. Okay, so for the French toast bake, as I said, I'm doing this as a serving of 2, but I am going to alter it in the app just to see what it would do if you decided to do this as serving for 4. But for 2, this would be whatever the bites or points of the bread is. That's the only bites or points you're going to get. Now, when I first made it, I used the Sara Lee Delightful 45 bread, where 6 slices, which went into this, came up to 7 bites. So 1 portion came out to 4 bites, which is still good. The bread I used this time, the Nature's Own sugar-free, is 1 true bite per slice. So this is only 3 bites. So it's going to change based only on whatever bread you use. Now, if you're following calories, 1/2 of this is going to be 332 calories for just the French toast bake. The fat is going to be 13.7 grams. The carbs are going to be 41.5 grams. And the protein is going to be 23.3 grams. And again, that's going to change based on whatever bread you use. So make sure you are inputting it into whatever recipe builder you are using. Now, if you are doing this as serving 4 into little segments like that, with the Sara Lee Delightful 45 bread that I used, it would be 2 bites. The calories would be 166. The fat would be 6.9 grams. The carbs would be 20.7 grams, and the protein would be 11.6 grams. So just because I'm doing this as 2 servings, you could do it as 3, and let me see what that would be. So if you did it as 3, it would be 3 bites, again with the bread I'm using. Calories would be 221, fat would be 9.2 grams, carbs would be 27.7 grams, and the protein would be 15.5 grams. So you have some options there. You don't have to do it at the serving size I do it. Any of my recipes, you can adjust the servings to whatever fits your lifestyle the best. Hopefully you will give this a try for your holiday breakfast, maybe Christmas Eve morning, Christmas morning, even New Year's Day. Why not? And like I said, it's versatile. You can change up the flavors all you want, and the process will still be the same. You could also just use regular syrup. You don't have to make your own syrup on this. But if you like this recipe, I hope you will give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. And share this recipe or any of my recipes if you think someone out there would benefit from them. And hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. I know I have one more coming up on Christmas Eve, and I have a special visitor in that video. You don't want to miss it. And then after that video, there will be a tag next week, but that's the only video that'll come out because I'm going to take that week off to enjoy the holidays and just relax. So there will be a little gap, except for the tag, just so you are aware. Don't go looking for the recipes next week. I will be back at the beginning of January with some more recipes, whether they're mine or someone else's. Also, comment down below, are you a Peppermint Mocha fan like my friend Bree who inspired this dish? Or would you change up the flavorings? Maybe caramel. Maybe you could do something with chocolate and peanut butter. The options are yours. Change it up, make it fit what you want. And join me over on social media. Here's my Instagram handle. And there are 2 Facebook groups that I'm part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy, and the other one is Finding Our Way, WEIGH, and that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, of course, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. 2 great ladies right there, and there's a great group of people in those groups. Lots of recipes, tips, tricks, support, what have you. So I guess I'd better go wake up Paul and tell him breakfast is ready. So until next time, bye and enjoy your holidays.